Welcome to Ask Dr. Change. I'm Dr. Linda Ackerman Anderson. I'm happy to have you join me today to explore how to seriously up-level your leadership and consulting to transformational changes, all through conscious change leadership.
Welcome. Today we have a very special episode. I'm with Theresa Moulton, who is Editor-in-Chief of Change Management Review, a very, very popular and important online media vehicle for the organizational change leadership field. Theresa, welcome. I'm so happy to be with you today.
Oh, thank you, Linda. I'm thrilled to be here on the Dr. Change podcast.
Yeah, so give us a little bit of background of you and how you came to be doing this work.
Sure. So I have practiced organizational change for about 25 years. And after building my own company in Boston for 17 years, I said to myself, how can I give back to the community in a different way? And that's how Change Management Review was born.
Beautiful. Fabulous. And you've consulted with all kinds of organizations as well in the change space. Isn't that so?
Yes. Higher ed, financial services, pharmaceutical, retail, almost all of the different industries there.
Fabulous. I also want to ask you to give us a little bit of an overview of Change Management Review and the conferences that you're currently doing. It's very exciting.
Yes, sure. So we have just completed our Change Tech Rising conference in April, where we brought together leading technologies and leading experts on ethics and AI and coaching, some of the new platforms that are out to enable change management work. And that was a real fun and successful show. And then we have two more conferences coming up this year. One is in September. It's called Coach Change. And we are opening that up to the broader coaching topic of what are the cutting edge trends and what are some of the key practices in coaching that we can learn from as change practitioners. And then in November, we have the Lead Change flagship show that we've been doing for 7 years, where we curate topics that are really prevalent and up and coming in the change field. So very excited to have those shows come up through the year.
Fabulous. And it's such a representation of your entrepreneurial spirit and always pushing the edge of the field. And it's really one of my questions for you. So you talk about AI and technology and coaching. Where do you see the next edge for the field of change leadership?
Well, that's a really good question because AI and technology are definitely here. They're not coming. They're definitely here. Yes. And we need to really build our interpersonal skills, which is a common theme out there. But in addition, we really need to build our critical thinking skills and our problem solving skills. And one of the biggest pieces of that is really looking at the organization as a system and not just a project. Yeah. So I really think that for us to be able to add the most value possible, we need to think about what happens if the spreadsheets go away, what happens if we're, not doing all the deliverables that we do right now, and how do we become closer to a trusted advisor with our client? And that's the big shift that I think we need to make.
Excellent. Tell us more about your picture of the trusted advisor. What does that mean? What's that look like?
Yeah, so the trusted advisor is an individual professional who has, a solid performance background in change management execution, but now someone who has really developed the management consulting and professional skill set to advise executives, advise program leaders about change leadership concerns, change leadership challenges, but really be an armchair consultant to this particular change effort. So you're less of a technician and you're more of a consultant and an advisor. And it's a really good place to go because it allows you to position yourself at the table as a real value-added resource instead of, only being able to just be, a subject matter expert on a project, which is valuable as well. Yeah. But I think it's a good progression to move towards the trusted advisor because you really can build a stronger skill set for yourself, which increases your value as a change management professional.
Fabulous. I frequently make the distinction between change management, change leadership as a tactician, doing the basics, and as a strategist, which I think is more of what you're talking about, be able to see the big picture, the long-term view, be an advisor. Seemingly that fits with what you're talking about as being a trusted advisor.
Yes, and it allows you to operate at a level in the organization where you can have tough conversations, you can have difficult conversations, you can really have impact reframing problems, and helping the clients to see what's possible and how to navigate through some of the challenges that they may be experiencing. And this isn't that you wouldn't do that as a practitioner. It's just that usually as a trusted advisor, you have the skills to actually help address the challenges in a broader way.
Yeah, fabulous. I'm so curious because I think in terms of change strategy and change process, how do you see that role interfacing with the content experts, the subject matter experts on projects that seem to be so central to how projects are run?
Yeah, I think there's that's actually a potential gap in a lot of projects is that you have trusted advisors that are not linked back to the project team. And so what happens is the trusted advisor and the senior executives set an expectation that the project team hasn't been a part of setting or even estimating. And then we have, misset expectations. And so the project can't keep up with what the date set or whatever the expectation is. So if a trusted advisor can be linked to the project team and be that liaison to the senior team, I think that projects are definitely set up for more success.
Fabulous. Wonderful. I want to ask you, given how much observation power you have with what you're doing, what other, I would say, gaps or needs do you see for change management practitioners to step into, to develop themselves in?
Well, it's interesting. I have a little tale that I tell myself based on how long I've been around. And I really think that we are missing management consulting skills. 25 years ago, we used to have the big five or big four build-in change management methodology. And they had team development and they had org redesign and they had the change management skill set sit as context for all the things that we do today. But then as I think clients weren't able to pay for change management or didn't see the value in it, the methodologies got winnowed down to just the technical pieces. And what we need to do is rebuild those skill sets in ourselves. So as the technology comes and takes on some of that basic work, we're actually, developing the ability to get closer to the trusted advisor. So I think management consulting skills are really important. I think another specific set of skills is coaching skills and really making sure that we're getting the high impact value for our clients that we can actually point to. And that's why I think that's why the ACMP and the International Coaching Federation have a joint task force really looking at the combination of coaching and change management and how to bring those together so that we are really not only looking at how do you bring coaching skills to the change management skill set, but we're looking at how can coaches, professional coaches, work with change managers in the context of doing work.
beautiful. When I think of coaching, I think of going into the behavioral realm, the style realm, the mindset realm, what goes on internally, emotionally for leaders and
Yeah.
practitioners. And so marrying that with technologies and the approaches of change management is incredibly powerful. And, our orientation towards conscious change leadership that brings
Yes.
the conscious piece right to the forefront. I'm assuming that is what you're referring to.
Yes. So when we bring coaching skills to the change management approach, we're basically bringing the mindset, the techniques, the practices. Yeah. And so in order to do that, even to bring a mindset, we have to have the conscious knowledge of ourselves, to be aware of how are we showing up? How's our character and presence showing up? How are we holding space for the conversation? How do we ask the questions that help people become more involved in the answer? And so that, self-consciousness is really important.
Music to my ears. Fabulous. And marrying that with getting transformational projects to actually happen successfully and be led effectively. So really important.
Right.
So you shared a couple of areas for change practitioners to step into. How about tips or advice or guidance for leaders of major change efforts?
Yes, it's interesting. I just interviewed Urs Koenig, who just wrote a book called Radical Humility, and he had talked about his work in terms of helping senior leaders. And one of the top things he mentioned is self-awareness. And, I guess Professor Amy Edmondson raved about his book and the concept of psychological safety, self-awareness, and then also leading through relationship. And so those are the three pieces that I think, through the coaching practice, I've worked with executives the most on. And it's a tough piece, as you know, with the conscious leadership piece, to have someone see the value in the self-awareness up front. But once they go slow to go fast, things really do move. So I believe that there's a lot of strength in self-awareness and a lot of strength in leading through relationship. I believe that those are the linchpins that we need to help our clients understand so that they can be effective change leaders.
Absolutely fabulous. I'm thinking you may have already thought about this, but I'm thinking you running a conference just on leadership development around self-awareness and leading through relationships for leaders.
Beautiful. Yes. I love it.
I think that would be a great topic. All right.
I think so.
That would be great. Wonderful.
And you'll have to be a speaker.
All right. Dean and I would love to do that. That's, true to our heart and soul. That's great.
Right.
So how about, aside we mentioned the conference, but vehicles that you know of to support leaders to develop themselves, to open up themselves, to be more self-aware. What ideas do you have for actually, aside from the coaching piece, for them to actually move in that direction?
What's interesting about that question is that some of my colleagues are bringing group coaching to the fore for leaders today because obviously the executive coaching is very powerful, but because executives are traveling so much and it's a virtual world, but they still need to work together, they're finding a lot of impact in these 90-minute sessions of group coaching over a series of time. So that's one hot technique right now in the OD space that I think is really working for people.
Yeah.
The other piece is peer coaching. I think peer coaching is really helping to disseminate the understanding and awareness of people who work together so that they can build more of a collaborative environment. And that's all orchestrated by a coach. And then, believe it or not, one of the most incredible things that I've just experienced at our tech conference is AI coaching.
Oh.
And AI coaching is amazing. If you ever have a chance to check out Pandatron with Dima Sorokin as the CEO, their technology is amazing. They've been able to show that in terms of therapeutic attachment ratios, that the software actually creates the attachment between the client and the therapist, being the technology, the client and the technology, within 3 to 5 days, whereas the normal attachment to a therapist is 5 to 6 weeks.
Wow.
So it's absolutely fascinating. And people are using it, very often in the different organizations.
Yeah, the gas pedal for self-development. I think
it is.
I think that's marvelous. It's interesting because trust in the relationship is so important for a leader to open themselves up to be vulnerable. And I think about that in terms of the human contact. How does AI play into that?
Yeah, so what they're using the AI coaching for is really a daily tool that people can talk to reframe problems and rely on for support. Everything's confidential, and then they can use their regular coaches, for some of the deeper work that needs to be done.
Awesome. I'm aware in just the things that you've been sharing, what a fabulous opportunity you have through the conferences at Change Management Review to find out all about these cutting edge approaches and things that are actually shaping the field now, as you say, as well as the future. What a great opportunity you have set up for yourself to always be pushing the edge. It's fabulous.
Yes. I mean, it's really one of my favorite things, the curiosity for what's coming next, the curiosity for where are things going, and then being able to innovate, innovate solutions or experiences that people can use to grow towards those opportunities. It's really what makes me tick.
Fabulous. Well, you're ticking, woman. You're ticking. It's great. How about any guidance, any advice you would have, first for change management practitioners at this point where the field is?
Well, I have been giving that a lot of thought. And I guess one of my traditional pieces of advice for change management practitioners is look up and look out when you're in the organization. Don't get caught up in your deliverables. The second piece of advice is look outside and, understand that you don't have to be afraid of technology. It's just like, the internet came, we all survived. But do take the time to develop the skill sets that require you to know yourself very well in order to have the highest impact that you can with your clients, because they're going to need that kind of support.
Beautiful.
And that's what's going to be needed from you in order to operate at the level of a trusted advisor. And thirdly, it comes back to self-awareness. And I think that, after everyone's been through COVID and all these different, traumas, we have to really pay attention to how we react to things. So bottom lining that, it comes back to what type of presence do you have with your client? How do you show up in meetings? How do you hold the space? And to do that, you need to really know yourself. And that's the part that's the je ne sais quoi. That's the part that's the intangible component of a style, a consulting style. And I think that's really what we're trying to do, is we're trying to help people understand themselves well enough so that they can grow into a future that's meaningful for them and their clients.
Yeah, I'm really touched by that. I think back over the years and years in the very early days of organization development, the whole entree into that world was self-awareness, was know yourself, so much personal development. And then as time went on, that really went by the wayside. Change management came on board. It became much more tool-focused, technician-focused, model-focused, less about self. And now it's time for those two to merge. And exactly what you're saying is wonderful. What goes around comes around. It is time. Definitely.
It is time. I got to train with Edith and Charlie Seashore on use of self. And, they were in their 70s, late 70s or 80s, and it was just fascinating. And that is the mindset, that is the practice that needs to come back, Definitely. And I think as humans with all this technology, we've really got to put the human piece into the technology. All
right. There's another topic for one of your conferences. Bringing self as instrument with the old OG motto, self as instrument, back into the practice. I think that would be a great one, because you have the platform, Theresa. You have, the vehicles for doing this. It's just, all right. So we're lining up future conferences here.
Yes. I love our conversations. We always come up with so many different ideas.
Great. So how about any final advice for leaders at this point as well?
Well, for leaders, I think it comes back to, I hate to say it, but it comes back to self-awareness, but it also comes back to humility. It comes back to leading through humility. And my conversation with Urs Koenig yesterday really reinforced that for me. The radical humility, the way he explained it is, in the military, people who get ahead are the ones that put their teams first, right? You praise your soldiers. You don't try to take the limelight yourself. And so this whole piece about becoming self-aware enough so that you're not insecure as a leader, and that you can trust your people to really support you, and then turn around and give that success to the team, and demonstrate that humility is really something important to do, because I think as technology keeps moving forward, it's going to be easier and easier to take people for granted. And that's one thing we don't want to do.
Absolutely. That's beautiful. And I certainly hope that leaders take that to heart. Well, Theresa, what do you see is next for you? Where are you going from here?
Well, I have thought about that, and the thing is I love what I do and I do what I love. So I'm kind of happy at Change Management Review, because as a serial entrepreneur, this is my fourth company. I basically like to identify trends, create products or services or experiences for people, and then bring them to market. And so as long as I'm able to do that and be creative and productively add value, I'm pretty happy right now.
Beautiful. That's great. Let that be. That's wonderful. Whatever will emerge, and you will jump on it as you always have, which is fabulous. That's great. This has been such a pleasure. It's such a joy. I have loved working with you, and I deeply admire the work that you are doing. And so I really appreciate you spending some time with me and sharing your wisdom and your offerings to us as leaders and to the field of practitioners. Thank you for spending
thank
time.
You very much.
You're welcome.
Today's subject is one of the key topics that we feature in our Leading Transformational Change online program. If you'd like to learn more about leading transformational change, go to beingfirst.com/LTC. Thanks for spending some time with me today. I hope you gained some valuable insights for your work. Please send me your questions and challenges by going to askdrchange.com.